Good morning, FlossTube. Dina here for my fourth episode, and I wanted to thank you very much for coming back to watch or for being a first-time viewer. Thank you for the subscribers. I'm so shocked. I have people that have actually subscribed to my channel. What a kick in the pants. Heard several of you talk about what a warm reception you're all getting on FlossTube, and I have to just second that and third it and fourth it and say it's been wonderful. You guys make the most awesome comments and just make a person feel welcome. So thank you for that very, very much. Would like to start today by sharing with you that I had a fully finished object ready last episode that I actually videoed into the episode and edited it out. If you've watched any of my prior videos, you've probably seen my progress that I was making on dog treats and heard the story that it was for my adopted sister Stephanie, and in honor of her dog Marley, who was beginning to have some bad health issues. Well, I got that finished, I got it to the frame shop, got it back from the frame shop, and the day that I got it back, I videoed my last episode on that day, which was a little earlier than I had intended, just so I could get that in the mail. Unfortunately, Marley is no longer with us, and that has now become a great tribute to him. And the day that I filmed that episode was Marley's last day with us, and so I couldn't put it in. So I wanted to just share today the final picture of the FFO, because I've already mailed this off. So I'll insert a picture of it as it was framed. I'm happy to report that Stephanie loves it. It has a place of honor in her office, and so I'm thrilled about that. And it'll be a great memory for her as she goes forward without her devoted Marley. So send warm thoughts her way. So we'll start now today with a progress report on my whips. So I will start first off by letting you know that I've made some progress on them. I've been very excited about that. I had, after establishing my first rotation ever, had to alter it after 1 month because I realized how much time it was going to take to get one of my whips finished, and I'm working on a deadline. So as you'll recall, if you saw the video, I changed to working on Smoky Mountain Christmas for 1 week and the wedding for 2 weeks, and then doing whatever my third or fourth whip would be in week 4. So here's the Smoky Mountain Christmas to let you see what it's supposed to look like in the end. If you'll recall, that is by Linda Cotilla, and it's a Cross My Heart ink publication. And I'll show you my progress on that now. When I started this, I'm sorry I didn't snap a picture of it. I will snap a picture of it this time before I start. But I had these first 2 little columns done down to the tree line. And since then, I've done 4 more columns all the way down to the tree line. And this section right here should have the tip of a bear nose in it, and I chose to wait until I do this column to start the bear's head so that I can do more of it at one time instead of having 4 or 5 stitches and that be it. So that will be my whip that I start on Monday, and I'm excited about that. That's just a couple of days away, and I'll go from there. My second whip is my anniversary whip. It's a present for my husband and I, and I'll show you what it's going to look like, hopefully. I did have to make a change. Mentioned that in a previous video, that I'm going to change the bride's hair to more of a brown color, which I did. And I think that turned out just fine. And I actually have those colors written down so I can share that in the written comments below. And this is a whip that represents a lot of first for me. So here's the progress. The last time when I started working on this, I did take a picture. So let me insert that here. And then now you can see where I've gotten to. Here's the bride's brown hair. So I think that turned out really well. This is a first where I've done skin 1/1. And then as I keep going, I think you can see I've gotten a lot further in the dress. The blue ribbons, the roses that are gathering all the folds of her dress. So that's where I am now. I'll back up a little bit so you can hopefully get a more full effect of that. And just finished my 2 weeks on that, and we'll be wrapping that up for a week off before I jump back into it. So I'm pretty excited about that. In my last video, I mentioned that I was going to have a new start, and so I would like to share with you what I started. And this has been this is for a gift, but I don't think that individual is looking at my channel, so I'll go ahead and share this with you. It's called Blessed Be the Tie, and it's based on the hymn Blessed Be the Tie That Binds, and it's about family. And so that's why I'm doing this one. And I'm going to finish it in a different manner. I'm going to make this, I hope if it fits, it should. I measured it, but you know, you never know. I'm going to do it in a serving tray for someone. So I'll show you my progress now. I've got this on my stand. So this is what I've done so far. And I've come a long way with it. This has been a great stitch. I have worked on it now a couple of times in my rotation. So the only thing I have left now is to finish this ribbon and the greenery that goes across the bottom and close that up and then back stitch it, and I'll be through. So I am anticipating, if I get a really good week of stitching, that I could possibly finish that in the month of March. So I'm hoping to. If I don't start something new and I just work on that whole week that I have available in my rotation, then I think I should be able to finish it. That would be pretty awesome. So I think it's also important to mention that this month of February has been extremely productive for me in other ways than just my whips. Although I've gotten great progress on them, I'm very proud about that. It's been a month first. In my the wedding, in this one, I did a pin stitch for the first time. I did the 1/1 for the skin for the first time, and I fully gridded for the first time. But I'm excited because I got to try all those new techniques out on that one. The other thing I did in February that was a first for me is I purchased a couple of apps that I've been hearing about, and one of them is called Xstitch, and it's a way to store your inventory, track your projects. It'll calculate for you how many you finished and how many you've started and all, if you put the information in. So I've gotten it, and I've put my first project in there, which was dog treats, because that was my first finish of 2016. And this coming weekend, I intend to take out all my inventory and put it in there. I'm going to bite the bullet and just probably give up a whole day to do that. My husband's off hiking, so he won't see any of the mess, and I can lay everything out and get it into X-Stitch. And I think that's what I'm going to do this weekend. The other app that I purchased this month is the Goodreader app. And I would like to start getting some electronic patterns and try them out. And my first thought would be to take one of my patterns I have, especially a small pattern, and scan it into a PDF file and upload it into it and see how it works, and just try it out on something that's easy to manage and see how I like it. But when I'm doing a project, I take a photocopy of the pattern. In many cases, I break it up into several pages or stages of the pattern so it'll fit on my stand easier. And then I use colored pencils and I color it as I go. And what that does for me is it helps me keep track of what I've finished. And the colored pencils, I feel, are safer around my fabric than the highlighters. I even saw on one of the FlossTube channels where someone got a highlighter that clicks like a pen, and I went and bought a whole set of them because I thought, oh, this is awesome. That'll take care of it and it'll be easier to highlight. And they're so dark that I can't see my symbols very well through them. And I like to be able to see them as I'm checking my count and things. So I think I'm going to stick with the colored pencil on paper, but I'm hoping that my highlighter on the Goodreader, because you can set the darkness of it, you can still see your symbols through it. I'm hoping that'll be the solution for me and will work well for me. So those were two things that I did in the month of February that were pretty awesome. I'm excited about those new additions to my stitching. The next thing I have to share with you is a bit of a haul. I have been enabled, as many of you say on FlossTube. I have heard so much about these beautiful fabrics, and I really wanted to go and check them out. So I ordered some fabric. I have fabric in my stash, so I didn't order a lot. I just wanted to give it a try, and I'm so happy to report that I'm thrilled with the fabrics. Now, I'm very conservative, and so I got conservative fabrics, so don't get too excited. But this one is called Playful Sprite, and it's hand-dyed fabrics by Stephanie. And I want to share it with you. And I won't apologize if it doesn't come out right or anything like that. But in case you can see it, I'll share it with you. It's pink and green. It's very muted, but it has a sparkle. You can see that. I think you can. And I have the perfect pattern to go on this. It is called Firefly Fairies. It's a lavender and lace. Isn't that beautiful? And these colors of the pinks and greens that are in this fabric are just going to look gorgeous, I think. And I'm excited about that because I'm going to use that for a sal. One of my very first sals. I'm very excited. I'll tell you about that when I start talking about future plans here in a minute. But that was my first fabric that I purchased. The next fabric I got is a beautiful blue, and it's just a sort of a variegated blue fabric. And some of you have had this on your channels, Frozen Fractals. It's also hand-dyed fabrics by Stephanie. It's Lugana as well. The other one was just an opal linen, but this is Lugana, and it's one of my favorite types of fabric. I love Lugana. I like a Joblin, but I had to get the linen in the other one just to try it. Then I went on eBay, and although some of you have warned us through your videos not to go on eBay because it can be really dangerous to you, to your bank account. And I got a few things from eBay that I want to share with you. I was really tickled because the prices on them are so enticing, shall we say. So I'll get started with those. Here's the first one. I have a couple of favorite artists. I'll share that in a tag today, but one of them, in case you hadn't noticed already, is Alma Lynn. She has such whimsical things. I love beautiful things. I love very intricate patterns, and then I like whimsical patterns. And Alma Lynn sort of hits my whimsical note. This little booklet I was able to get with a couple of them actually, but this was Alma Lynn Everyday Angels. Just precious. Cute as they can be. And I'll scroll this up a little bit so you can see the different pictures. I think that's all the patterns there in that one. But they're, you know, yard sale Saturday, wash up Sunday, garden day Friday, ironing on Tuesday. Very sweet, just very sweet. And I will enjoy those. Then I got another one on Alma Lynn, one that's Christmas Angels A to Z. These are so cute. Gotta show them to you. Some of these are so funny, so precious. Isn't that great? Love it, love it. Then there's two really cute ones on the back. Oh, precious. Very excited about that. Can't wait to do one. And then I have one, and I'm going to have to slit it open because I was trying to open it or look at it earlier, and the little card, you can't see it without showing the pattern in the way that this person has packaged it. So let me slip this little card out. This is a Butternut Road pattern that I got. It's the little boy and little girl raking. It's an ABC pattern. I just thought that was precious. Love it. So I'm excited about doing this one. Got that on eBay as well. As if that wasn't enough. One of my all-time favorites, Mirabilia. These are called Giggles in the Snow. Isn't that a great name? It's a little boy and a little girl making snow angels. How cute is that? I can't wait to do those. So, so cute. All right, I have one more pattern to show you, and it's a Mirabilia as well. And it's called Gathering Eggs. A lot of you have seen it. I got it for a steal. I'm so excited. And it's not a kit, it's just the pattern. So I'm excited about that. And I have been looking at fabrics for that one. I have been looking at several fabrics on theviewer.net. I had to look at the name, sorry. I heard about that on YouTube, and I'm thinking, if I'm not mistaken, it was the Stash Queen that mentioned it. It was either her or the Queen of Starts, but I think it was the Stash Queen that mentioned it. If I'm wrong, please forgive me. But I heard her say, in an answer to a question she got from a viewer, about how do you pick your pattern and fabric. How do you know your fabric is going to look, your pattern's going to look good on the fabric? And she said you can go to theviewer.net and pull up patterns, and you can pull up fabrics. Even Stephanie's fabrics are in there. And so I did that. I spent a lot of time on that website and love it. And we'll go back there again, I assure you. So I'm pretty excited about that. If you haven't tried it, you have to go give it a look. When I was in there this week, they had 900 patterns available for you to look at. So that was pretty awesome. Was pretty happy about that. Okay, So I think that was all my stuff. Oh, I'm sorry. It wasn't. This was what I was looking for. I went ahead and bit the bullet and I got one of these mag eyes. I have a huge lamp that sits over my desk that has a magnifier in it, and I've been using it for years. And what it does is I pull it down really low over my fabric, but I find that I'm having to lean over it quite a lot, and it's causing some neck strain, by doing that. So this is so much easier. You put it on and you look through it and you look down. You don't have to, bend your head down. So thank you guys, Teresa. Thank you, Teresa Little Stitcher, for wearing that and sharing it and saying, here you go. I bit the bullet and bought one and I love it. So that's awesome. Okay, so there's my fully finished object, my whips, my new start, my haul. So I think the next thing I want to talk to you a little bit about is the other thing I decided to do in the month of February was to go and join some of the Facebook discussion groups. And I had joined the cross stitch finish line and had been thoroughly enjoying it. I love it when I get a little message on my phone that lets me know something's there. I just enjoy seeing everybody's work as it's going every day. It's just lovely. It's so encouraging. And then on Valentine's Day, on February 14th, the Cross Stitch and Discuss group opened up for our new members, and I'm so grateful that I was allowed to join that group, and I've been enjoying their members as well, looking at their work and what all they're doing. And in doing that, I heard about these SALs that people keep talking about, and I've never done a SAL. Never had a group of people that I stitched with until FlossTube. So I am excited to share with you that I have so far decided to participate in 3 SALs. I may do more as time goes on and I hear about them and I research them and decide that would fit in with something I want to do. So these 3 actually fit in with goals I already had. And so what fun is that? That's awesome. So on May 1st, I'll be starting my very first SAL, and it's called Magical May, and it is something you work on that's either magical or is magical to you. And so I picked my Firefly Fairies that I showed you earlier, that beautiful fabric that I had to go with it. That is what I'm going to start May 1st for that SAL. So in the months of March and April, I will be kitting it up and I will be gridding the fabric, and that way I will be ready for May 1 for my first SAL ever. So thank you to the Cross Stitch Finish Line for that. And then in July, on July 1st, they're going to have a Christmas in July. And so you're supposed to work on something getting ready for Christmas. And that should give you plenty of time to work on it. But one of the things I was already doing and had already done a few of were making some Christmas tree ornaments for friends. And I have several more I want to make. So I've gathered those ornaments together, the patterns for that. And I'll be starting that on my July 1st Christmas in July SAL. Then on November 1st, my third SAL is called a holiday project. And I thought what I would do is use that time in the month of November to stitch on my Smoky Mountain, unless I think of something else. I may have to use one of those angels that I just got the pattern for. But at the time that I signed up for the SAL, I was thinking I would dedicate that time in November to Smoky Mountain Christmas. But I may be ready for something new by then. So we'll see. That one may be changing. That may be up in the air. So those are the 3 SALs that I'm going to be participating in so far. So what a great addition to my stitching life. I can't tell you how excited I am to be doing that. So I thought today, to wrap up this video, I would do a quick tag. And this is talking about cross stitching and what kind of cross stitcher you are. So the first question is, how did you start cross stitching? Did a little bit when I was 8. My mom was teaching me to embroidery, and I embroidered a set of pillowcases for my room, and it had cross-stitched butterflies on it. No, didn't do anything else then until my 20s. And my husband was working during the day in a job, and he was going to school during the day and working at night to support us and put himself through school. So I was working full time during the day, and I had all my nights available, and I was bored. So I asked a girlfriend at work, "What do you do, in your evenings here?" Because this was a new town. We had moved there for my husband to go to school, and we didn't know too many people, and we were very far away, 18 hours away from our home, 18 hours away from our friends, and so I was pretty desperate for something to do. You can only clean the house so much. And so she introduced me again to cross stitching, and she's the one that taught me to do the loop start and helped me read the patterns and refreshed my memory on everything, and took me shopping for my first cross stitch, which was a kit because I didn't have any supplies. And it was one of the questions here is, what was the first thing you ever did and the first thing you ever finished? And I finished it. It was a baby crib sheet and pillowcase for a friend who was expecting their first child, and had a row of Sesame Street characters on the sheet, and then it had a Sesame Street character on the pillowcase. It was so cute, and from what she's told me, she used it with all 3 of her children. So I'm excited, and now she has 7 or 8 or 9 grandchildren, something like that. So thanks to my friend Barbara, who got me started back stitching. What is your favorite theme or designer? I don't have a favorite theme. I love a variety. I think you can see that from what I've done. I don't do the same thing all the time. But I do tend to have designers that are my go-to designers that I enjoy. I love the Mary Levitt in Bloom Lavender and Lace. I love her designs. I miss that. And then, of course, her daughter, Nora Corbet, who does the Mirabilia. Those are probably my 2 favorite artists in the world. And then Alma Lynn, as I mentioned earlier, I love her whimsical nature. And there are others I've done probably 1 or 2 things from that I've enjoyed, but these tend to be the artists that I go back to over and over again. Floss brand. What floss brand do you use? I use DMC. And a lot of that reason is that it's color fast, or the majority of it is. And also because for Christmas one year, my wonderful husband went and bought me 1 of every color of DMC, so I would have a complete set. And so once you have a complete set, you have enough of an inventory that you tend to want to use it. So I use DMC. I have been inspired by many of you on FlossTube to try some of these Weeks Dye Works or some of the additional silks and things that I've never tried. So as I'm kitting up these new projects that I'll be buying as they call for them, I'm going to try them. You've inspired me, so I'm going to do that. Do you use a needle threader, or are you a floss licker? I use a needle threader. I have always used a needle threader. My mom started me doing that when I was very young, and it probably because she couldn't see well enough to thread without one, but I have them. I have 2 or 3 or 4 of them with me at all times. I'm never without one. How many finishes do you have in your home? I have 4 framed photos, framed projects. And I've shared that, I think, in my first video to give you kind of a flavor. And I have maybe somewhere between 5 and 10 items that are cross-stitched items that for Christmas, somewhere in there, but not that many. I really do give away more. The next question is, do you stitch more for gifts or for yourself? Definitely for gifts. Always have. I'm beginning to stitch a little bit for myself now, and that's so enjoyable, but I tend to see something that I want to do for somebody else most of the time. What is the finish that you're the most proud of? Well, goodness, I've got two or three that I'm really proud of. One being my Royal Holiday Christmas Queen, because it's one of the largest things I've done, and it's beaded and it's just beautiful, and it's one of the first few things I did to keep for myself, and y'all have seen that. But another thing that I'm sort of proud of was the Mirabilia Bliss Fairy that I did for my sister Stephanie. It's beautiful, and I'll have to share that with you. Actually, I'll just go ahead and put a picture of that in for you. Pretty proud of that. Thought it turned out really well. But I guess if I had to pick one and only one, I would say the biggest picture I've ever done. And it's a cross stitch of a Raggedy Ann doll with two little kittens playing with her. They've even pulled a strand of her hair out, and it's, stretched across where they're playing with it. And it's delightful. It was a gift for a friend, but it's the biggest thing I've ever done. And she was kind enough to let me borrow it back and put it in the state fair, and I won a blue ribbon with it. So it was my first blue ribbon. And I've only run a few, but it was my first. So I'm pretty proud of that one. What has been your least favorite or worst experience while stitching? And I can tell you this is an ongoing, would always be my worst experience while stitching, and that is to realize I've miscounted and I'm off. I hate the frog. I absolutely hate it. I feel like, oh, I'm undoing all this hard work. I know you all probably feel that way too, but that's probably my worst experience stitching, is realizing I'm off and then having to go find out where you're off. What do you love slash what do you hate about cross stitch? There's only one thing I really don't like about it, and I would say that's the time it takes. It's very time intensive, it's labor intensive, and so I want to do so many things, but it takes so long to finish them. And so you can't jump into too many and get any finishes out of it. So you have to put in the time to get it out. And so I think the one thing I dislike about it, I don't hate it, hate's a strong word, but I dislike the fact that it takes so much time to finish it. It's well worth it, but I just wish I were quicker. I wish I could do it faster. What do I love about it? Everything. I just absolutely love cross stitch. It's wonderfully creative for me. It's a soothing, calming thing for me. It's a de-stressor. It was really and truly my therapy when I worked full time. Even though I didn't get to do it much, the more I did it, the better I felt. So I love it. Have you ever introduced anyone else to cross stitch? Yes. I've introduced 3 people to cross stitch. 2 of them it took really well. The first was a friend of mine. We had children together, and when they were in probably middle school, we would get together and let the guys play, and I took my stitching with me, and as we would talk, I would stitch. And my friend asked if I would teach her how to stitch. Her name was Rita, and I kitted up a project for her. I let her come to my house and look through my stash, and she picked a pattern, and I kitted it up for her and taught her how to stitch, and we stitched together, and that was awesome. And then when she started stitching on her own, I thought, this is great. She's got it. So for Christmas that year, I cross stitched her a cute little picture of 2 little girls back to back stitching, and talked about a friend and a stitching friend, and I made it into a tote bag for her to carry her cross stitch in. And as far as I know, she still uses it. So that was the first person. The second person I taught to stitch was my sister Stephanie, and she stitched a little bit on the dog treats, and then just did not have the time for it with her travel schedule, and so it hasn't really taken very well. Maybe someday later she might pick it up again. But her niece, Sarah, who came to visit her for 3 months one summer, had asked if I would, she saw all the things I had made my sister Stephanie, and she asked Stephanie if I would come and visit with the intent of teaching her to stitch. So we worked it out, and I went to my friend Stephanie's home, in Iowa, and Sarah was there visiting, and we had lessons, cross stitch lessons that whole week. And as she was wonderful, she took to it so well, and her stitches were beautiful. She understood it immediately. It was just a joy to watch her embrace cross stitching. How do you store your floss? I bobbinate my floss, and I store it in the uh, floss storage containers, you know, the little ones that are about this big. I have 5 of them. And I've seen on FlossTube where there's a new, I know Carolina S, I think, shared hers. There's a new large tub now that's deeper, and so you can put floss on both sides, and it's supposed to hold one whole set of floss. And I bought one of what I thought it was at Hobby Lobby, and I brought it home, and it wasn't deep enough and it would not close, so I had to take it back. So I'm still looking to find the right one for that. So I'll have to check that out. But that way I would have other floss containers when I start getting these beautiful, you know, hand-dyed threads and silk threads and things. I have to have a way to store them. So I'm not going to bobbinate them. But anyway, that's my tag, and thank you for listening, and I hope that it's had you get to know me just a little bit better. And I appreciate so much your time. I hope you got a lot of stitching done today, and I hope that you'll have a great week for the rest of this week, and that your month of March will be awesome. So get busy stitching.